Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Lucas van der Velde, I'm the director of Sonic Acts. And we have arrived at week 5 of this year's biennial. Before we begin this afternoon, I would like to start thanking our partners at Bimhuis for having us this year. Thank you, Frank, thank you, John, and all at Bimhuis. Also, a huge thank you to all the artists and engineers involved in today's program. Most, if not all of them, are present today, this evening. I would especially like to thank Kristina and Tarek, without whom none of this would have been possible. Sonic Acts was established due to the absence of a suitable venue or stage for these kinds of works in the early 90s. And although there was already a flourishing scene of artists and tinkerers working on this, there was not a festival that brought all of this together. One of the driving forces in this scene was, of course, Michel Waisvisz. We at Sonic Acts consider him as one of the, so to say, creative and conceptual founding fathers of Sonic Acts. And we feel we have a lot in common with him. And so now that we at Sonic Acts finally started working with our own archive after 30 years, it comes only natural to also collaborate with the Michel Waisvisz archive. The importance of these kind of heritage projects cannot be stressed enough. Our cultural history of the electronic and digital arts is in bad shape and largely inaccessible. If we do not take care of it in the short term, we will have a painful gap in our cultural memory and a lot of knowledge will be gone. So let today be a celebration of a remarkable pioneer and also an assignment to ourselves to take care of our heritage, our archives, and to activate this for new generations.
Working with archives makes you think about the relationship we establish to all these objects and things, and the potential also they have to shift within the present. And there is a huge speculative space in between what is lived in a certain moment and what remains afterwards. And it's exactly this space that we are navigating today. We start this program with conversations with Tarek Atoui, Kristina Andersen, Görkem Arıkan, Boris Shershenkov, as well as turntablist and former collaborator of Michel, DJ Sniff, composer, performer and sound artist Youn Kang, and sound artist Julia Giertz.
This invitation for me started like about 2.5 years ago, and in September, October 2022, this is when I had the chance, thanks to Sonic Acts, to reconnect with you, Kristina, and to ask you, do you have Michel's archive? And you saying, yes, it is here, it is in the storage, come check it out with me. And this is when we opened that storage in a bit outside of Amsterdam back then, and started to see what's in it, what Kristina had been doing since years of preserving a lot of Michel's work, documents, instruments, ideas, tapes.
Hi, I'm Kristina. I'm an accidental archivist. I never set out to archive anything, really, beyond the general hoarding that all of us do. And over the years, I became the caretaker of this body of work. And initially, it was a practical thing. There was a studio full of stuff that needed packing down. And in the beginning, we thought we had to do this right. We thought we had to digitize and categorize and make databases and find metadata and all of this stuff. And over the time, it became clear that it wasn't possible, and also that it wasn't necessarily meaningful. And it became clearer that even with a perfect organization, instruments that aren't being played are just things. And so we started thinking about how to let all of these ephemeral things be re-performed, reactivated, while staying ephemeral. It's so tempting to just digitize everything and, I don't know, somehow reprint it in steel. And Tarek said, can I come and have a look? And we went out there and we opened a bunch of boxes and we found things we knew and things we didn't know. And we started deciding that we needed to just unpack some things and look at them. And that was really the start of a different approach towards archiving, this kind of ephemeral, open-ended archiving. When we opened the boxes, we wanted to focus on the 60s and the 70s primarily because so much of the data was still physical.
What started to appear, like what we are seeing here, are constellations of things I started to put together after opening all these things. But anyways, what we started to see in this, as Christina's saying, is material from Michel that he was collecting since the 60s, since he was a student in fine arts, actually. And then out of these, constellations started to happen. And I was talking about Michel's painting practice, but also there were other practices that I started to see of Michel as an individual as well, not just the composer, and to start to understand what is Michel doing outside of his musical time, you see, whether at time or in front of his bandoneon or thinking music. Michel was a pilot or was somebody who knew how to fly a plane, actually. And
yeah, it's you said you're focusing on the physical, and you talking about the correspondence and letters, and it made me realize how much more his thoughts were probably formulated through writing letters to musicians instead of emails, which would probably be quite difficult to find a core idea. But when you're writing a letter, you're really trying to convey it concisely.
Right.
So I imagine that his early ideas were quite clear, or his directions, and so yeah. And I agree with everything you say, and it really reminds me of how international he was, how political he was.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, Julia, tonight, as sound artist, but also as somebody who is close to EMS and works in EMS. But I will not describe it. Maybe you can describe it better than me. What is EMS today? And it will be nice to have, for me, an important parallel about Michel's legacy today and the relevance of these ideas through EMS as well.
Thank you. So my name is Julia Giertz. I am the studio engineer since a year at Elektronmusikstudion, EMS, in Stockholm. The studio celebrates 60 years this year, and we actually also have an exhibition in Stockholm to kind of collect the memories of these 60 years that have passed. And that has also been a studio in great transformation. It started actually as part of the radio, and in similar ways as BBC would also have a studio for experimental music. That it was seen as very important to have the engineering and also concepts of future would go hand in hand.
So the Crackle speakers, these guys, like when we were looking at the archive, there's a funny story that happened. I saw these speakers and I saw Michel using them in theater sets, in plays, in the early times, and like kind of doing push-ups on some, and really as a speaker you could carry around that is battery powered and that you could, toss and turn in whatever way you wanted. And it's called the Crackle speaker because it works very nicely with the family of the Crackle instruments.
And so we simply decided to remake them the way they were made, with badly shielded wire and some fairly questionable solder points. And the effect of them are that they are very much what I would call dirty electronics. They are lively, they are unreliable in a bunch of ways.
G, please, can you just let us know? Because yesterday when you connected this to your kit, you were like, whoa, and it sounded totally different. So what was your experience?
I have this instrument that has a very raw sound from basically electronics without having very proper amplification, because of that, in general, I have to actually go use computer to regulate the outputs. But here, I mean, yesterday they suggested that this might sound really good with my circuits, and when I plugged in, they have seen me shouting basically out loud that I was very excited, and maybe you also saw me while performing that I was smiling. That's because I hear sound that is not supposed to hear, or some sound were just way too boosted, and so I see the sharing of character of my instrument with these Crackle speakers, where this facilitates certain aesthetics that really invite this kind of raw sound material to shine, and having the right clothes.
No, we didn't work with it, but it also has a feedback circuit inside. I think the output is connected back to its inputs.
It's just badly done.
It's just badly done. No, but each of them has the same character, and it's like this very distinct feedback sound. Like maybe like I don't know who built it, but maybe we can ask. We didn't use it on workshops, but I also love it, like because as also she said, it's not polished and it has this wood and a warm character of sound.
It would be very nice, Boris, you tell us a little bit how from this image you got to the instrument we will see today.
Thank you very much, Tarek. Thank you for invitation and for opportunity to be part of this project. It was really kind of challenge in a good way, in a good sense. And actually, even from this image, we could already take a lot of different information. And that's what I found like fascinating from the work of Michel, from the work of Stein. It's that even now, this kind of media that we are usually refer as obsolete, in a way of using it in like different ways, like audio tape, which is nobody using anymore, like outside maybe cassette tapes, which are now fashionable again. But then to use it completely different way, which make it really valuable for today's research, especially in the field of NIME, like new instruments.
Well, maybe I'm not the gloves expert. We have the better gloves expert. Maybe I don't know, Frank. Is it something you can talk about how the gloves work or what?
Well, first of all, we don't call them the gloves, but the hands.
The hands. Yes.
Yeah, but the hands were Michel's digital controller. So with this instrument, he could send all kinds of musical messages to a computer using MIDI. And MIDI is a well-known protocol for communication amongst electronic musicians. And then the computer was running software that Michel and I wrote together called Lisa, which stands for live sampling. And with his hands, he could manipulate the samples. He could scratch through those samples like with the tape, but do also all kinds of other stuff, you know, suddenly jump from one location to another location and make it sound like it is continuous.